Good morning to all the students attending this particular session of financial management. And today, myself, Dr. N. Sengupta, and along with me, my colleague CA Mayank Jain will be joining with us shortly. We'll be giving you
And
certain
along with
tips,
me,
certain
my
helps
colleague CA Mayank Jain will be joining.
in the subject financial management. This subject, financial management and strategic management, is having two parts. One part is the financial management, which is of 50 marks, and another part of second part, that is strategic management. So we need to see that you are prepared not from one angle, but for both, from both angle. Means you are well prepared from financial management point of view, as well as you are well prepared from strategic management subject as well. Now, these are the some of the things which we'll discuss very shortly. You know all of this detail, that the financial management, there are different section-wise weightage which is given out of 50 marks. And if you can see that, this 10 to 15% is there from the first unit, that is the introduction part, as well as the financial analysis through ratio, which is of 6 to 9 marks. Then this is the financing decision, and major percentage of your weightage comes from this syllabus, that is of 28 to 31 marks, that is of 44 to 50% of your weightage comes from here. The sources of finance, cost of capital, capital structure, and leverage, all are part of this decision making process, which is the financing decision, and very, very important from the perspective of financial management. And as you know that this chapter decision where the theoretical question comes, but however, cost of capital, capital structure, decision, and leverage, these three chapters were from where the practical question comes. From where the practical question comes. Then there is capital investment and dividend decision, 20 to 25%. That is of 13 to 16 marks. Capital investment decision, dividend decision, and then at last the working capital part, which is of 15 to 20%, 9 to 12 marks question. Now, you have all seen the pattern of question paper, and what is very important to notice in this particular subject, that this 15 marks case scenario question will be there, and this is bifurcated into 10 plus 5. And then there will be a compulsory question of 15 marks, 5 into 3. So 30 marks question is basically compulsory. So what is very important for you, that you should not be doing any selective study as such. And you should be very, very precise in, doing every bit of the syllabus which is prescribed by the institute. And for the balance part, there will be 3 questions of 10 marks, and you have to do 2. So 20 marks. So 15 plus 15, 30 and 20. So this is the subject map we have, or the pattern of the paper, and this is exactly the way it comes. Last question is of theoretical part of 10 marks. So that is also becomes very important when you will be appearing in the examination, because if you do not have too much time left, then instead of attempting a numerical, you may go for the theoretical question. Skill-wise weightage, knowledge and comprehension, 20 to 30%. And then level 2 application and analysis is 70 to 80%. Then chapter-wise, if you see, there are certain chapter, obviously how to revise and all we'll be talking about. So first, from the very first chapter, there can be theoretical question and long-term finance function. So these finance function are very, very important. IFD, that is the function. Investment decision function, financing and dividend decision. Then short term, there will be working capital management. You need to study the scope and objective of financial management and its relationship with other financial management or other discipline of accounting like cost accounting and management accounting. There is a very important concept of profit maximization and wealth maximization, where we say that profit maximization is basically a vague concept, or does not really work always for the organization. Wealth maximization is much more comprehensive, much more compact, mm, you know, way of telling it. A role and function of CFOs, the Chief Financial Officer, that's very important, and particularly how the role has been changed over a period of time that you can also go. So this is very briefly the first unit or first chapter where probably you can get an idea that how some of the theoretical question can come. Then now let us go to the second part, which is of financial sources. That is chapter 2, another theoretical chapter, and concepts you should try to understand from this particular chapter, like based on maturity, how the financial sources can be divided, based on basic sources, how it can be divided, external sources and internal sources, share capital, debt, borrowed capital, and retained earnings. Then equity shares and debenture, preference shares, loan from financial institution and others. Then sources of finance, long-term, mid-term, and short-term. So all this you can go through one by one, and there are certain important sources of finance like venture capital, angel financing, asset securitization. Then there is euro issue, ECB or external commercial borrowings, trade credit. These are the terminologies you should be going. Bridge finance is another terminology which is important. So you can see some important sources I have listed down: masala bond, bridge finance, lease financing, debt securitization, and always try to give some example along with this. So giving example will help you, explaining the things in a better way, and probably write down in examination with precise, correctness. You need not to write more, but also at the same time you can fetch more marks. Financial analysis and planning, the ratio analysis, the liquidity ratio, short-term solvency ratio, the leverage ratio, that is the liquidity ratio and leverage ratio, and activity ratio and profitability ratio. So leverage ratio, long-term solvency ratio, capital structure ratio, and coverage ratio. Then from the profitability ratio related to sales, related to overall return on investment, are required for analysis from owner's point of view, related to market valuation and investors. So these are some of the type of ratios which you need to go through. Very important chapter, and every time we see a numerical question comes from this chapter. So these are the different classification of ratio, different way the ratio comes, whether it's question of liquidity ratio, coverage ratio, or capital structure ratio. Then a return on investment, return on asset, return on capital employed. These are overall return when you are talking about. Please keep in mind that when you will be taking sales and when you will be taking cost of goods sold. You can see here, somewhere we are taking sales and somewhere we are taking cost of goods sold. So the basic idea of taking sales and cost of goods sold in different ways are that when you are considering the profit element into it, then you will be taking the sales into account. When you will not be taking the profit element into it, then you will be taking cost of goods sold. Activity ratio, efficiency ratio, performance ratio, turnover ratio, sales oblique cost of goods sold by average total assets, sales by cost of goods sold by fixed asset, that is fixed asset turnover ratio. And again, you will see when you're talking about inventory, when you're talking about debtors, in case of debtors, we are taking credit sale. In case of inventory, we are taking cost of goods sold. So very important that how we'll be measuring these things in a better way. You please go through the treatment of capital gain and capital loss in capital budgeting. Last time we have discussed this in detail. So what are the type of question generally we see from the ratio analysis is the balance sheet using various ratio, preparation of profit and loss statement, or calculation of different kind of ratio and income statement. So these are some of the type of questions generally we see in case of a ratio analysis. There are a few questions. Obviously, there are a lot of questions there in the study material, and you can go for those. I'm not discussing any question as such. Now, the next important chapter is the cost of capital. Please keep in mind there are majorly four type of sources we get. One is debt, one is preference share, one is equity, and one is the retained earning, that is our own money. So how to take all these four into consideration, whether it is debt, whether it is equity, whether it is preference share, you please keep that in mind, and accordingly maybe you can decide that which are the sources will be better for the organization depending on that cost. Now when you are talking about the combination of different kind of sources of finance, it may be weighted average cost of capital or WACC. There are two types in which you can calculate: book value weights and market value weights. And there is also a technique which is known as marginal cost of capital, where cost of raising an additional rupee of capital, marginal, as you always know that when you are issuing some additional things, then what is going to be the cost that is basically determined. So two concept is very important. One is WACC, weighted average cost of capital, and based on book value as well as market value. Market value means the market price you need to take into consideration. Book value means what is there in the financial statement that you need to take into consideration. Marginal cost of capital, cost of raising an additional rupee of capital. Cost of sources of capital, cost of long-term debt, irredeemable and redeemable, cost of preference share capital, irredeemable and redeemable, cost of equity share capital. It can be calculated in various ways, 5 ways, and you should go through all. Dividend price approach, which is known as DP approach. Then earning price approach, that is E by P, that is opposite to the price earning ratio, just opposite to price earning ratio. EPS by market price. Growth approach, we take the growth into consideration, and this growth is nothing but B into R, means what is the retention of money you are doing into the return. Capital asset pricing model, that is CAPM. KE is equal to RF plus beta into RM minus RF. Cost of return earning, that is cost of return earning is equal to cost of equity into 1 minus TP, that is personal tax. This is basically the chapter which is capital structure. So capital structure, there are certain theories of capital structure: NI approach, traditional approach, NY approach, Modigliani and Miller approach, and financial hierarchy. How the designation of an optimal capital structure, that is EBIT, EPS analysis, is going to be there. Modigliani Miller approach with tax and without tax. Trade-off theory, pecking order theory, and mm, and this is based on the hierarchy. So this four is very important, particularly approach, both with tax and without tax. You can also go for EBIT EPS analysis and how these changes are there. There is also indifference point, at the point at which the EPS of both the situation, option one and option two, will be same. That also you may go through. So these are some of the very brief part of capital structure theory. NI approach, first of all, how the, and whenever you will be doing any approach, please see that how the value of the firm can be calculated and how the value of the firm is changed. Modigliani and Miller approach with tax, without tax, as I told you, very, very important. And there is various ways. This is again very important. This one, and this one. Then net operating income approach, again, this is basically irrelevant approach. And then Modigliani Miller, there are two. One is without tax, and this was with tax, and this is without tax. So both you need to go through. Very, very important, Modigliani and Miller particularly. This is EBIT EPS, how it can be done. And in this chapter, you can go for calculation of questions based on levered form and unlevered form based on the approach, the which plan is better. So there will be option given, and you need to find out. Calculation of indifference point and EPS is also very important. Determination of current and revised capital structure is also very, very important. And there can be a question where debt is increased and interest percentage of changes. So if you are hiring a debt, hiring your capital, let's say over 40% of your debt, your interest may increase. P ratio also may change. So based on the change scenario, based on the P ratio changes, based on the interest changes, you may need to find out that what can be the revised situation and what can be the best for the organization. Now, financing decision, the last part is the leverage part, and a very, very important chapter, and a lot of calculation, a lot of question we see generally in this chapters, which is based on concepts. And I will request all of you that you may go for, you know, you may go for different models here, and if you can write down all this in one single page or half page, then you can calculate all the leverages. For an example, sales minus variable cost is contribution minus fixed cost is EBIT. So there is a fixed cost here, and then there is a fixed cost here. So this is the fixed cost, and interest is also a fixed cost. So the ratio between contribution in EBIT will be degree of operating leverage, and the ratio between the EBIT and EBT, this will be degree of financial leverage. And combination of both the things will be degree of combined leverage. So if you see that how this is calculated, and ultimately, you need to find out when you are talking about the combined leverage that to change a percentage of EPS, what is the changes in sales is required. So there can be 1 or 2 marks question based on this also. Simply you have to multiply or you have to divide. So practice a lot of numericals from this chapter, and conceptually you should be very thorough. And I don't think you need to remember any formula as such. So this is operating leverage, financial leverage, and combined leverage. So whether operating leverage is basically percentage change in EBIT. When you are talking about the degree, then generally we use this, and we use this. You can see this EPS and sales is this one, EPS and sales. Financial leverage, there are two important concepts. I may touch upon these two important concepts for all of you. One is trading on equity. Trading on equity when you are, have very high percentage of or low percentage of equity and high percentage of debt. You need to make sure that your organization is doing a lot of profitability, a lot of profit has been earned, and you can have a lower base of equity share, and your EPS will be increasing because you will be getting the tax benefit also for the interest of the debt holders, and ultimately your EPS will be high. So you can trade on equity at a good situation when everything is going very well, but this is always a risk with risk option, because organization will be depending too much on debt and their equity base will be less. But obviously the earning per share and dividend per share also correspondingly can be increased. Whether financial leverage is always good, that's another question we can ask. And we know that there is a concept called double-edged sword. Double-edged sword basically means that if you increase and if you decrease, what is going to be the advantage and disadvantage? So if you see that a return on investment is 25% and KD is 15%. So 10% surplus that goes to the equity shareholder and your EPS will be increased. But if the situation is not good, your ROI is only 10% and you need to provide a debt of cost of debt of 15%, then there is a 5% deficit which is to be borne by the equity shareholders. So you need to make sure that that what kind of situation you should have. So when you have a very good return on investment, your business is doing very well, you can have debt, high percentage of debt. But when your business is not doing very well, you need to depend on your equity shareholder, and you need to reduce your debt so that your burden, your liability goes down, and your fixed interest which is to be paid to the debt holders may get reduced. And maybe the tough time you can go through, and when the good time again will come, maybe you can change your strategy. So financial leverage always may not be good, and it can be a double-edged sword, and too much dependency is also not good. And though it will increase your EPS, but you need to be very, very particular about the situation in which you're working. Margin of safety, this is one question. Obviously you can go through this question, this is there in the study material. Then investment decision, you need to find out the ways how to calculate the cash flows, initial cash flows, how to calculate interim incremental cash flows, how to calculate, and terminal year incremental cash flows, how it can be calculated. This is how the cash flow after tax to be calculated. One thing I just want to tell you, that initially you will be reducing the cash cost and depreciation, and then you will be adding back the depreciation. There is no cash outflow as such, so cash inflow after tax will be this one, and that will be added with the depreciation. So PAT, or at earning after tax plus depreciation, that will form your cash flow after tax. There are various capital budgeting techniques. The traditional non-discounted techniques are payback and ARR. Payback is um, uh, within how much time will be getting back your investment back. Then there is accounting rate of return or average rate of return, average annual net income divided by investment. NPV is we need to find out that present value of cash inflow minus present value of cash outflow. A desirability factor or PI index, sum of discounted. This is very important technique with this adjusted value. In fact, NPV, PI or desirability factor, and IRR are the three very important techniques as such. And then there is modified internal rate of return and discounted payback. Modified internal rate of return, now we are also putting certain questions based on that. And also in the examination of recent past, we have seized that use of MIRR. So I request you not to ignore any particular technique of capital budgeting. There can be small theoretical questions also, like capital rationing can be there. There can be a different numerical question, replacement of old machine, new machines, two type of depreciation, block of assets concept, all this, which is covered in the study material, in the past examination, in the RTPs, and in the mock test paper. You please go through all of them. So this is one question which has come in the examination also, but let us skip. Then there is dividend decision. In case of dividend, mind you, risk analysis and capital budgeting is no longer part of our syllabus. That has gone to final. So advanced financial management, you will be able to get it. Theories of dividend, there is various approach. Relevant theories approach, Walter model and Gordon model, both is very important. The relationship between the return and the cost of capital is very important in this. And then there is approach, which says that dividend is irrelevant. Very, very important concept. Then there is model like DDM, dividend discount model. Recently, we have also seen the question comes from DDM model. Graham and Dodd models, we have included that in the summary part of one chapter. And there is Lintus model. So these are the summary that how it to be done, and probably the most complicated one, or conceptually you need to understand in a better way, is the approach, that the Modigliani and Miller approach. The same person who has given you the capital structure theory of with tax and without tax, and here how many equity share you need to calculate, you need to issue, that is also a very important, and this is how it is to be done. Looks little complicated, but not at all, and very well explained in the study material you may go through. There is Walter's model, and there is Gordon's model. Gordon's model is again without growth. There is one model. This is without growth, and there is with growth. Mind you, this is again this BR. I told you this is again growth only, but we are taking in the denominator just to differentiate between the cost of equity and the growth. DDM, constant growth model, is again very important. And we have discussed many times, when expected words you will be able to find out. You place take D1, D0 plus the growth you apply, and then you take the D1 depending on the situation. I think in the study material we have almost made it uniform, and there should not be any iota of doubt in your mind how to do it. Graham-Dodd model, very briefly you can do. There is a multiplier concept, and Lintus model obviously is a particular concept where the current year's dividend is dependent on the current year's earning and the last year dividend. So these are the different models which you have in generally very straightforward question we find in dividend. Only thing you need to understand the language, which is actually the dividend which is issued, which is the EPS, how much percentage is the retained earning, how much percentage is the retention ratio, how much dividend is paid, and how much part of the profit is retained. So, and then obviously based on the return on that particular retention of money, we calculate the growth. These are some of the numericals, and then we have the last chapter of working capital. Very important chapter, as I told you, it itself is a segment in our section wise weightage. It's one chapter, because this chapter is a combination of various concepts, and initially you can go for calculation of operating cycle, how the operating cycle is calculated. Then you can go for management of inventory, how the inventory management is done, how the receivable management is done, and how the financing of those receivable can be done. Management of payables, not that important. And then financing of working capital, obviously working capital finance from banks. I will once again emphasize that please concentrate on this. There are various concepts, various permutation and combination. So numerical wise, operating cycle was one thing, working capital requirement is another thing, and then there is receivable management, which for credit policy based question, and then there is factoring based question, and then other theoretical questions. In case of cash management, when you're talking, there are few models, BOML and OR model. Those models also you please go through, have a little bit of look of the cash budget concept, which is explained in the study material. This is how The operating cycle can be calculated raw material WIP finished goods plus debtor minus the credit period. This is how it is to be calculated, and there are certain questions. I think a lot of questions nowadays we have added in the study material, and it is available in our RTPs and MTPs. You can go through. In fact, there is a booklet of case studies which is available, so that also you can go through. So these are brief about the concept which I thought I'll be discussing with you. Now, can you see this case scenario questions? Technical support team. Anybody is there in the Sanket? Mr. Sanket? So friends, now we'll be discussing the case scenario. Okay. So I will request, as I told you, that my colleague CA Mayank Jain will be taking you through. You can read this case scenario well, and there are few questions which is related. This is capital budgeting in the last MTP. This question has been given, so we thought of discussing these questions with you. Over to CA Mayank Jain.
Good morning, students, and thank you so much, sir, for taking the session. So take 2 minutes and read the case scenario. We'll move to the next page after this. So we start with the requirements of the question. It is the MCQs requirements. There are 5 MCQs in a particular case scenario for 10 marks, and the MCQ is of 2 marks each. And whenever you are reading the case scenarios, I have allowed the time to read the case scenario, but while attempting, you have to read the MCQs first. जब भी आप केस सिनेरियो कर रहे हो आप पहले MCQs रीड करो, उसके बाद क्वेश्चन का जो भी केस सिनेरियो है उसको आप रीड करो. इससे आपका टाइम सेव होगा. ये मैं बार बार हर वेबिनार में आपको ये बताता हूँ कि आपको पहले क्वेश्चंस रीड करना है, उसके बाद आपको सिनेरियो रीड करना है. अकॉर्डिंगली यू कैन मार्क द रिक्वायरमेंट्स इन द क्वेश्चन और इन द केस सिनेरियो. सो रीड द क्वेश्चन. What is the residual value of the Sonex and the Ecomed? There are two machines, Sonex and the Ecomed, at the end of their life. हमें इसकी रेसिडुअल वैल्यू निकालनी है जो कि इनकी एंड में होगी वैल्यू. तो हम इनकी रिक्वायरमेंट नेक्स्ट रीड करते हैं. इफ मशीन सोनेक्स is used for 15 years, what is the equivalent annual cost of the machine? हमें EAC निकालना है सोनेक्स के लिए. अगर वो 15 साल के लिए यूज होती है. इफ मशीन Ecomed is used for 10 years, हमारी सोनेक्स 15 साल के लिए हुई थी, Ecomed 10 years के लिए. What is the equivalent annual cost of the machine? EAC for Ecomed. Next, if Ecomed is taken on rent for 10 years, what is the EAC of the machine? अब हमें अगर रेंट पे है Ecomed हमारे पास, तो हमारा EAC कितना आएगा. यानी हमारे पास तीन सिचुएशन हो गई. सोनेक्स हमने परचेज करी है, Ecomed हमने परचेज करी है, थर्ड वन Ecomed हमने रेंट पे लिया है. अब इन तीनों का बेसिकली कंपैरिजन हम कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे. वो कंपैरिजन हम यहाँ पे दिखाएंगे. विच इज द मोस्ट इकोनॉमिकल ऑप्शन इफ द मशीन इज लाइकली टू बी यूज फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ 5 years. अगर 5 years के लिए हम कोई मशीन यूज कर रहे हैं, उसके बाद हम डिस्पोज कर रहे हैं, उसको सेल कर रहे हैं, कुछ भी कर रहे हैं, तो उस केस में सबसे बेस्ट ऑप्शन, बेस्ट इकोनॉमिकल ऑप्शन हमारे पास कौन सा है? जिस केस में हमारी सबसे कम कॉस्ट होगी उस केस में बेस्ट ऑप्शन हमारा होगा. तो हम क्वेश्चन रीड करते हैं. Medilab Diagnostic Private Limited, a fast-growing healthcare diagnostic chain in Maharashtra, operates several diagnostic centers offering services such as pathology, radiology, and preventive health screenings. One of their most profitable centers in Pune recently experienced downtime due to failure of its 10-year-old ultrasound scanner. The machine has reached the end of its useful life, causing disruptions in patient appointments, especially in obstetrics and the abdominal imaging. जो उसकी करंटली मशीन है, अल्ट्रासाउंड मशीन है, वो खराब हो चुकी है. ऑलमोस्ट उसकी लाइफ पूरी हो चुकी है. तो कहीं ना कहीं उसमें इश्यूज आ रहे हैं. तो नॉर्मली हॉस्पिटल्स में अगर इश्यू आते हैं तो फटाक से वो चेंज कर लेते हैं. To prevent further delays, the procurement and the finance team have evaluated three options. मैंने आपको बताया था initially we have three options: purchase Sonex, purchase Ecomed, or to rent Ecomed. Two new ultrasound scanners models with identical features are available for purchase from different models. हमें इनिशियल रिक्वायरमेंट क्या थी? हमें रेसिडुअल वैल्यू निकालनी है सोनेक्स की और Ecomed की. हमारे पास कॉस्ट गिवन है, लाइफ गिवन है हमारे पास, मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट गिवन है हमारे पास, रेट ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन गिवन है. 4% फॉर सोनेक्स एंड द 6% फॉर Ecomed. Next page. The residual value of both machine will drop by 1/3 of the purchase price in the first year. यानी कि फर्स्ट ईयर में हमारी परचेज प्राइस से 1/3 ड्रॉप हो जाएगी. रिमेनिंग ईयर की वैल्यू अकॉर्डिंगली हम कैलकुलेट करेंगे. एंड thereafter shall be depreciated annually at a specified rate. Alternatively, Ecomed model can be taken on rent. As I already said, Ecomed can be taken on rent, which will be returned to the vendor after use under the following terms and condition. Enrollment कितना है हमारा? Beginning of each year, it is paid in the beginning of each year. Remember, इससे हमारा जब भी पीवी निकालेंगे तो हमारा यहाँ पे 0 पीरियड से शुरू होगा जो हमारी पेमेंट होगी. रिमेंबर दिस while रीडिंग. रिमेंबर वन थिंग, छोटी से छोटी चीज को आपको नोट करना है. लाइक यहाँ पे आप इन्हीं नॉर्मली क्या करते हो, फर्स्ट ईयर में आप शुरू करते हो, यानी ईयर एंड का आप लेके शुरू करते हो, लेकिन यहाँ मेंशन है बिगनिंग ऑफ द ईच ईयर. एंड फॉर द फर्स्ट ईयर इट शेल बी 1,18,000. फर्स्ट ईयर का हमारा रेंट कितना है? 1,18,000. The annual rent for the subsequent 4 years shall be 1,18,500. नेक्स्ट हमारा 4 years का कितना है? 1,18,500. Annual rent for the final 5 years shall be 1,26,750. उसके बाद शुरू के 1 साल का हमारे पास गिवन है, उसके बाद 4 साल का, उसके बाद रिमेनिंग जो 5 years है हमारे पास 1,26,750 का उसका हमारा रेंट है. The rental agreement can be terminated early by paying a penalty of 1,10,000 and this penalty would be reduced by 11,000 each year of the period of rental agreement. हमें 5 साल के लिए यूज करनी है. याद है हमें लास्ट रिक्वायरमेंट क्या आती है? अगर हम 5 साल के लिए यूज करते हैं, ये हमें अवेलेबल है 10 साल के लिए, तो हमारी 5 साल की पेनल्टी भी लगेगी अगर हम 5 साल यूज करते हैं तो. The cost of capital for Medilab diagnostic is 12%. हमारा ये कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल का रेट गिवन है. Being a head of the finance department, you are required to answer the following questions of the management. हमें फॉलोइंग क्वेश्चंस चाहिए कि रिक्वायरमेंट हमें फुलफिल करनी है मैनेजमेंट की, रेसिडुअल वैल्यू निकालनी है हमें दोनों की. आप 5 मिनट लीजिए, 5 नहीं आप 2 मिनट ही लीजिए. ऑफ कोर्स हम सब कुछ रीड कर चुके हैं कि अब हमारा ये सारा रिमेनिंग कैसे कैलकुलेट होगा. ये हमारे पास डिटेल है, यहाँ से हमारी पूरी कैलकुलेशन डन होगी. एक ये वाली डिटेल, एक ये वाली डिटेल. If you have any query, you can ask on Zoom or you can ask on query portal as well or the BS knowledge portal. स्टार्ट करें हम. स्क्रैप वैल्यू हम कैलकुलेट करनी. सोनेक्स से हम स्टार्ट करते हैं. हमारी इनिशियल वैल्यू कितनी है? 7,20,000. इसमें से हम डिडक्ट करेंगे 1/3. अब हम क्या करेंगे इसमें मुझे बताइए. जो यहाँ पे मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है, डाउट बच्चों को जिसमें आता है, हमारे पास रेट ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन 4% है. अब नॉर्मली यहाँ पे आप लोग क्या करेंगे? 7,20,000 में से उसका 1/3 माइनस कर देंगे, यानी कि 2,40,000. देन यू विल कैलकुलेट द डेप्रिसिएशन. बट नो, यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट द डेप्रिसिएशन ऑन द कॉस्ट ऑफ मशीन इटसेल्फ, नॉट ऑन द रिमेनिंग वैल्यू. और ना आपको इसमें WDV लगाना है. यहाँ पे आपका कहीं पे मेंशन नहीं WDV आपका लगेगा. आपको SLM लेके यहाँ पे चलना है. तो आपका लाइफ कितनी है? 15 साल. अरे में 1 साल का ये हो गया फर्स्ट ईयर. इसमें हम 0.04 इंटू 40. आप मुझे बताइए यहाँ कितना है. यस रीमा. यस अजय, बताइए. यस पुष्कर. राइट, 76,800. ये हमारा सोनेक्स का हो गया. इकोमेड का हम कैलकुलेट करते हैं इन द सिमिलर वे. इसमें हमारी लाइफ कितनी है? 10 years. लास्ट में वी हैव 15 years. नाउ वी हैव 10 years. 5,40,000 minus 5,40,000 into 1/3. यहाँ पे भी सिमिलरली हमारा कितना बनेगा? 5,40,000 into 0.06 into remaining 9 years. यस बताइए पुष्कर, रीमा, अजय, कोई डाउट अब तक आपको इसमें किसी में कुछ भी? यू कैन आस्क। 68,400। हम ये देखते हैं हमारे ऑप्शन में कौन सा ये अवेलेबल है। दिस वन, सोनेक्स का 76,800, इकोमेड का 68,400। हमारा डी ऑप्शन हो गया। इसका आंसर मैं आपको दिखा देता हूँ। दिस वन सिमिलर वे में ये 1/3 वैल्यू है, ये भी आपकी 1/3 वैल्यू है। ये आपका 0.06 यानी कि 6% हो गया। ये 9 ईयर्स हो गया, ये 4% हो गया, ये आपका ईयर्स हो गया। ठीक है, नेक्स्ट रिक्वायरमेंट, इफ सोनेक्स इज यूज्ड फॉर 15 ईयर्स, ईएसी हमारा कितना होगा? ईएसी का आप मुझे फॉर्मूला बताओ। यस, टोटल प्रेजेंट वैल्यू हमारी डिवाइडेड बाय पीवीएएफ। प्रेजेंट वैल्यू हमारी कितनी आएगी और पीवीएएफ कितनी आएगी? तो हम यहाँ पे सीधा आपको आंसर शो करते हैं। कैलकुलेशन आपकी काफी ज्यादा होगी क्योंकि इसमें करंटली हमारा कैश आउटफ्लो कितना है? 7,20,000 परचेज प्राइस। पीएफ पीवीएफ हमारा 12% लेना है कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल से। प्रेजेंट वैल्यू 7,20,000, 7,20,000। इनिशियल हमारे पास मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट कितनी है इनिशियल 5 ईयर्स की? 24,000 पर ईयर। हमारा पीवीएफ टोटल कितना हो गया? 3.605 5 ईयर्स का, इनिशियल 5 ईयर्स का। मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे 86,520 आ जाएगा हमारा। नेक्स्ट हमारा 4 ईयर्स का कितना होगा पीवीएफ? सॉरी 5 ईयर्स का, 6 to 10 ईयर्स का। पर ईयर्स का हमारा एएमसी कितना है? 34,000। उसका हमारा पीवीएफ आ गया, प्रेजेंट वैल्यू फैक्टर हमारा हो गया 2.045। वेल सिमिलरली 69,530। सिमिलरली फॉर द नेक्स्ट 5 ईयर्स हमारा 52,245 हमारे पास आ गया। अब के लास्ट में क्या है? ये हमारे लास्ट में रेसिडुअल वैल्यू हमने अभी कैलकुलेट करी थी कि हमें रिसीव होगी। हमारा पीवीएफ लास्ट 15 ईयर का कितना? 0.183। ये हमारी पॉजिटिव वैल्यू है, इसलिए हम ये सारी हमारी कॉस्ट है, ये हमारी रिकवरी है। तो हमारी नेट वैल्यू कितनी आ गई? 9,14,241। पीवीएफ हमारा कितना आ गया 15 ईयर्स का? 6.811। हमारा प्रेजेंट वैल्यू 9,14,241 थी। पीवीएफ हमारा था, एज आई ऑलरेडी सेड, पीवी बेसिकली एनपीवी डिवाइडेड बाय पीवीएफ। हमारा आ गया 1,34,230। हम क्वेश्चन में देखते हैं ऑप्शन कौन सा हमारे पास। दिस वन, दिस इज ऑल्सो द D1। सिमिलरली हमारा इकोमेड के लिए कैलकुलेट होगी। ये हमारा इनिशियल 5 ईयर्स की, हमारी 10 ईयर्स की वैल्यू है इसमें। ये 58,000 नेक्स्ट 5 ईयर्स का, और रेसिडुअल वैल्यू हमारी आई थी 68,400। फर्स्ट ईयर का हमारा 5,40,000 हो गया। नेक्स्ट ईयर का, नेक्स्ट 5 ईयर्स का 36,000। पीवीएफ हमारा इसका हो गया 3.605। हमारी नेट वैल्यू आ गई। फिर नेक्स्ट 5 ईयर्स का हो गया 58,000। देन वी हैव 2.045। द टोटल इज 1,18,610। रेसिडुअल वैल्यू हमारी कितनी थी? 68,400। पीवीएफ 0.322। वैल्यू आ गई हमारे पास 22,025 प्रेजेंट वैल्यू। नेट हमारी प्रेजेंट वैल्यू हो गई 766,365। 766,365 डिवाइडेड बाय पीवीएफ हमारा 10 साल का कितना है? 5.65। मुझे नेट आप बताओ अमाउंट इसकी कितनी आएगी? यस राइट, 1,35,640। ये हमारा कौन सा ऑप्शन आएगा इसका? बी ऑप्शन इज करेक्ट। नेक्स्ट हमारा, अगर हम रेंट पे लेते हैं सिमिलरली इकोमेट का कितना आएगा? रेंट के लिए हमारे पास डिटेल कौन है? ये रही। इनिशियल रेंट 1,18,000, नेक्स्ट 4 ईयर्स का 1,18,500, नेक्स्ट 5 ईयर्स का 1,26,750। सिमिलर वे में हम इसका भी इसे कैलकुलेट कर लेंगे। 1,18,000 फर्स्ट ईयर का हमारा 1,18,000 आ गया। यहाँ पे हमारी कोई भी रेसिडुअल वैल्यू नहीं होगी, रिमेंबर। और हम यहाँ पे पूरे 10 साल के लिए यूज कर रहे हैं तो कोई हमारी पेनल्टी नहीं होगी। 1,18,500 हमारे नेक्स्ट 4 ईयर्स का हो गया। इनिशियल बिगनिंग में था ये, इसलिए हमारा ईयर 0 हो गया, इसका 1 हो गया। ये नेक्स्ट 4 ईयर्स का हो गया हमारा। तो 4 ईयर्स का टोटल पीवीएफ हमारा 3.037, 3,59,880। नेक्स्ट का 1,26,750। नेक्स्ट हमारा 5 ईयर्स का 2.291। नेट हो गया 2,90,389। हमारा टोटल हो गया 7,68,269। हमारा एनपीवी आ गया 269। हमारा 5.65 था पीवीएफ। इसकी नेट वैल्यू मुझे बताइए कितनी आएगी? यस अंकिता, तान्या, राइट तान्या, 1,35,977। ये हमारा कौन सा ऑप्शन है? बी ऑप्शन, रेंट इकोमेट। अब हमें नेक्स्ट बताना है द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट, द मोस्ट इकोनॉमिकल ऑप्शन इफ मशीन इज लाइकली टू यूज फॉर 5 ईयर्स। सिमिलरली हॉस्पिटल्स में क्या होता है, अगर आपकी लाइफ किसी भी मशीन की 15 साल है, 10 साल है, तो कोशिश करते हैं उससे 2-3 साल कम, उससे पहले ही रिप्लेस हो जाए, क्योंकि बीइंग अ टेक्नोलॉजिकल इक्विपमेंट यहाँ पे डेली बेसिस पे इनोवेशन आती है। आपके पास नई मशीन आपको परचेज करनी ही पड़ेगी, अदरवाइज यू विल लेक समथिंग। आपके पास टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है आज के जमाने पे, तो आप किसी को भी कोई अच्छी सर्विस नहीं प्रोवाइड करा सकते, स्पेशली इन हॉस्पिटल जहाँ पे नई नई आज कुछ ना कुछ हेल्थ इश्यूज आ रहे हैं, कुछ ना कुछ बैक्टीरिया वायरसेस आ रहे हैं, तो आपको नई मशीन चाहिए जो उसको टेस्ट कर पाए। डायग्नोसिस आप प्रॉपरली कर पाओगे अगर आपके पास लेटेस्ट मशीन होगी। तो इन केसेस में नॉर्मली हॉस्पिटल्स जल्दी रिप्लेस कर लेते हैं, इसलिए बेस्ट 5 ईयर्स वाला ही आपके पास, इसलिए यहाँ पे पूछा है कि अगर 5 ईयर्स के लिए यूज होता है बेस्ट इकोनॉमिकल ऑप्शन कौन सा है। इसमें हम क्या करेंगे, अगर बेस्ट इकोनॉमिकल ऑप्शन निकालना है तो आपके पास कौन सा बेस्ट इकोनॉमिकल ऑप्शन आएगा जिसमें हमारी प्रेजेंट वैल्यू, इस केस में हमारा आउटफ्लो है प्रेजेंट वैल्यू, जिसमें हमारी प्रेजेंट वैल्यू सबसे कम होगी, वो हमारा बेस्ट ऑप्शन होगा। ठीक है, हम सबकी प्रेजेंट वैल्यू आपको तो आती है निकालनी। अब पहले हम स्क्रैप वैल्यू निकालेंगे सोनेक्स के लिए और इकोमेड के लिए। इतना हिस्सा, दिस पार्ट इज ऑलरेडी कैलकुलेटेड, दिस इज द 1/3, दिस इज ऑल्सो 1/3। अब हमें 4 ईयर्स के लिए चाहिए दोनों में, क्योंकि हमें टोटल 5 ईयर्स के लिए चाहिए। 4% रिमेनिंग ईयर, तो हमारा ये हो गया रिमेनिंग रेसिडुअल वैल्यू 3,64,800, 2,30,400। हम प्रेजेंट वैल्यू निकालते हैं। फर्स्ट ईयर का हमारा आउटफ्लो इतना है। मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट इनिशियल 5 ईयर्स की लगेगी 36,000। पीवीएफ लगा देंगे हम, ये ऑलरेडी हम दोनों चीज कैलकुलेट कर चुके हैं। अब हमारी स्क्रैप वैल्यू चेंज हो गई है, 2,30,400 फॉर इकोमेड। आई थिंक देयर इज सोनेक्स पार्ट इज मिसिंग from the sheet, but no issues, we'll calculate over here। इसका 0.567 हो गया इकोमेड का। 1,30,637 हमारा रेसिडुअल वैल्यू हो गया, प्रेजेंट रेसिडुअल वैल्यू। हमारा नेट आ गई यहाँ पे 5,39,143। हम सोनेक्स के लिए कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं। 0 ईयर में हमारा था 7,20,000, ये हमारा 1 था, ये हमारा 7,20,000 हो गया। उसके बाद हमारा था 24,000, 1 से 5 ईयर में ये हमारा 3.605 हो जाएगा। यहाँ टोटल बताइए मुझे कि 86,522। यहाँ फिफ्थ ईयर में स्क्रैप कितना आया था हमारा स्क्रैप? 2,30,000 is for this 3,64,800 567 हमारा कितना हो गया 206,842 नेट हमारा टोटल कितना आएगा यहाँ पे मुझे बताइए। आने मुझे बताइए कैलकुलेट करके कैलकुलेटर पे कितना आएगा ये। पुष्कर, रीमा, अजय 599,768 करेक्ट 678 सॉरी। ओके नेक्स्ट अगर हम रेंट पे लेते हैं फर्स्ट ईयर का रेंट 1,18,000 नेक्स्ट 4 ईयर्स का 1,18,500 ये हमारा आ गया टोटल। नेक्स्ट हमारी यहाँ पे पेनल्टी है। पेनल्टी हमारी कॉस्ट है रिमेंबर ये हम कॉस्ट है ये हमारी पेनल्टी 5 साल की 11,000 इंटू 5 क्योंकि हम 5 साल पहले इसको डिस्पोज कर रहे हैं और एग्रीमेंट खत्म कर रहे हैं बेसिकली वी आर एंडिंग द एग्रीमेंट 0.567 हमारा पीवीएफ है ये हमारी नेट वैल्यू होगी 31,185 टोटल हमारा हो गया 5,09,070 रुपीज। हमारी मिनिमम कॉस्ट कितनी आई सोनेक्स की आई 5,99,678 इकोमेड की आई 5,39,143 और रेंट पे आई 5,09,070 यानी कि अगर हम 5 साल पे ले रहे हैं रेंट पे तो बेस्ट ऑप्शन हमारे पास है। हम इसके ऑप्शंस में चले जाते हैं या रेंट इकोमेड थर्ड ऑप्शन इज द बेस्ट ऑप्शन। किसी को यहां तक कोई डाउट किसी केस सिनेरियो में या किसी को जनरल कोई डाउट फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट में यू कैन आस्क वी हैव 2 मिनट you can ask otherwise we'll end the session hope you have enjoyed the session yes रीमा यहाँ पे हमने ईएसी क्यों नहीं लिया गुड क्वेश्चन। ईएसी हम हमेशा जब निकालते हैं इक्विवेलेंट एनुअल कॉस्ट जब हमारा कंपैरिजन करना और लाइफ डिफरेंट हो लाइक इन द प्रीवियस पार्ट सोनेक्स की लाइफ थी 15 ईयर्स इकोमेड की लाइफ थी 10 ईयर्स और रेंट पे भी हमारा 10 ईयर्स था तीनों का इकोमेड और का रेंट पे और परचेज का सेम रेंट का पीरियड और परचेज का पीरियड था लेकिन सोनेक्स का 15 ईयर्स का पीरियड था तो हमारा कोई कंपैरिजन नहीं बन पाता इसलिए हम ईएसी कर रहे हैं। अब हम उस बेसिस पे ईएसी का हम अगर हमें तीनों का कंपैरिजन निकालना देन हम ईएसी का यूज करेंगे लेकिन हमारा जब तीनों का सेम ईयर्स लेना लाइक इन दिस 5 ईयर्स हमको सिर्फ और सिर्फ वी हैव टू टेक द प्रेजेंट वैल्यू इज इनफ क्योंकि व्हेन वी कैलकुलेट द ईएसी इट विल come in the same way there is no any difference because the divider is same okay clear कोई और डाउट किसी को टेक टीम संकेत जी आर यू देयर संकेत जी टेक टीम टीम बोल नहीं रहा and नहीं बस फिर मैं वो बोलूंगा गुड बाय बोलूंगा थैंक यू बोलूंगा अच्छा टेक टीम एंड करते सेशन हम 1 मिनट में ठीक है सो आपको और कोई डाउट नहीं है तो विल एंड द सेशन ओवर हियर थैंक यू सो मच गाइस फॉर सच अ वंडरफुल ऑडियंस होप यू हैव एंजॉयड द सेशन in case of any query you can ask on the query portal and you may write us on fm-inter@ica.in thank you so much